Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
I'm Isana Cayetano. Good morning.
Thank you for joining us this Monday morning, and sure to already be a hot one.
Indeed, it will be a hot one. But here's a good thing, right?
Yes.
We're on the heels of the Mother's Day celebration.
Yes.
I know that yesterday, almost everyone spent time with either their significant other or their mother.
Yeah.
Right? And I know it's a time of year where, respect and adoration and everything is given to women who have kids.
That's right. And we closed off last week with a beautiful celebration of mothers here on Open Your Eyes. It was lovely to be able to hear from the different mothers their own experience and just kind of learning. I think one of the things that we see every time we have these types of conversations is that no matter the background that you have, there's so many similarities in what it's like to be a mother and to care for children. So we want to say, of course, once again, thank you to our panelists who bravely, I don't know, sometimes people get nervous about coming in and sharing personal experiences. They'll come in and talk about their professional life, but if you're going to come and talk about being a mom or being a dad, it gets a bit more challenging. But we had a great conversation with them.
Excellent.
But, we think that one of the things that people were able to enjoy, even when it's warm, is that at least you could do some nice outdoor activities and spend time with the family.
Well, I'll tell you what, Marlene, this weekend was quite active. If you look at what took place in the downtown area on Saturday with the super sale, right? A lot of people converged on Albert Street and the downtown area to try to shop deals on various items. And the fact that the business community centralized in that particular location facilitated, this kind of trade, so to speak, where people can come in and purchase goods and other items. It's a return to that sense of normalcy that we keep talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is actually the first downtown sale since the pandemic.
Indeed.
It was something that was started by the Belize City Council to kind of get some business activity back into Albert Street area. And they had started it, and it was really growing over time. Then the pandemic happened, and that was that. So from what I've been told, it's been a huge success. A lot of people went out. It was Mother's Day themed as well, so people could go out and get their last minute shopping done for mom. And I know when we grew up, Albert Street was the main hub of commercial activity. Now it's
around Christmas time.
Yeah, and every Saturday for that matter, you found your way walking downtown, and then you had to do the shopping and then carry back the bags with you too. But that has changed significantly, just as the city has grown and people have options outside of the main downtown area. So bringing back that type of activity, I know, is welcomed by the merchants downtown.
When you think of it, Marlene, and I'm glad you kind of touched on it, Belize City has grown so much so that what used to be a centralized downtown area, you're now able to find big stores outside of that particular location. So for instance, you have like Golden Bay that is more on the Marine Parade side, right? You have 88 that's all the way up on the boulevard. So you have, instead of everybody descending on the downtown area, now you have options where you can shop far and wide within the city.
And one of the critical things too is banking, because you had to go downtown.
Yes, indeed. The banks were centralized.
We're really sounding nostalgic here. Some people are watching and be like, "Oh, really?" But you had to go downtown to be able to get that activity going. Now you have options.
Yeah.
All right, but we got a lot to get into, as you said. The weekend was packed with activities, and so we are going to get moving into our show and start you off with some motivation. And our motivation for this morning, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. When our thoughts become consumed with worry, we become a beacon of worry to the world. If prayer is an intention that we announce to the universe in order to create a desired outcome, then our every thought is a prayer. This includes thoughts of worry as well as of hope. All thoughts are subtle creative energy. Some thoughts are more focused or repeated more often, gathering strength. Some are written down or spoken, giving them even greater power. Every thought we have is a part of a process whereby we co-create our experience and our reality with the universe. When we use our creative energy consciously, we create what is commonly known as a self-fulfilling prophecy. In essence, when we worry, we are repeatedly praying and lending our energy to the creation of something we do not want. The good news is that we can retrain our minds and thoughts to focus our energy on what we do desire to bring into our lives. Since most worry is repetitive, it will take more than one positive thought to counteract the energy we've created. The simplest antidote to worry is affirmations. When we hold these positive thoughts, repeat them often, speak them and write them and refer to them throughout our day, we are using focused energy to create positive results.
So I look at three things that come out of this eye-opener. First of all, prayer, and then thought, and then worry, and how they're all related, they're all connected. I'll begin by saying this, right? Like, I'm a spiritual person. I may not be religious in the sense of attending mass every Sunday. I used to be, but I'm a spiritual person.
That's a whole lot of conversation.
And part of being spiritual is being able to pray and accept God's presence in your life. And I find that when I pray, I seek forgiveness first of all, and I seek help not only for myself but for others around me, right? But it's a thin line between being able to pray and being able to lay bare to God what your concerns are, what your fears or your worries are, right? And all of that comes together as things that we think about. Like, you wake up in the morning, what is my day going to be like? How am I going to progress in school or at work or in my interactions with others and what have you? Am I a good person? All of these are thoughts. The thing about it is that you're able to think things to reality based on the actions that you take, right? So that if you think happy thoughts, for instance, you're able to make yourself enjoy the day or the experience, whatever it is that you're doing, because it starts with that thought that this is what I feel, this is what I will do, and then you will it into existence. Similarly, if you concern yourself and worry about everything, and everything is doom and gloom, then that is exactly what's going to happen, because you're not seeing anything else beyond that.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think for me that's the key thing. It's not that we have all bad taking place. Yeah. It's that we only focus on all the bad that has taken place. And so whatever good deed or good moment that happens in between, it's been lost.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that stood out from the eye-opener for me, and I think it's the most important thing to walk away with, is that it won't take just one positive thought to be able to counter worry. It's repetitive. Yep. It's like exercise and trying to build a muscle, You don't just lift the weight once and say, okay, I'm capable. You got to build that muscle to be able to do it every single time or when you need to. And I think that's for me, when you talk about the controlling your thoughts, that's what it's about. It's about being able to make a decision in a moment that I'm not going to focus on everything that's going wrong. I'm going to take a moment to acknowledge what went right. And it's difficult because I don't know, we even optimistic people, and we look at them and we think, oh, they're perhaps idealistic or they're out of touch. They've just made a conscious effort to see things differently.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And while there has to be a bit of pragmatism, you got to be real about things sometimes, there is the necessity to be able to not overwhelm yourself with everything that goes wrong.
Yeah. Excellent eye opener this morning.
That's right. That's what you're going to take into your week. We know what the Monday blues feel like, but get up and tell yourself it's going to be a great day today. And let's find out what type of weather we're going to have for today as well. We have a forecaster on the line, Angelia Guy. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm okay, and you?
Cool, because I'm indoors. Angelia, we're feeling that April heat. Tell us, what is today going to be like?
It will continue hot today across the country. Expect little or no rainfall.
All right. So what's that 24-hour forecast looking like?
Mostly sunny skies today and then clear to partly cloudy tonight. Hot temperatures. We have the chance of an isolated thunderstorm developing near the western border over the mountains this afternoon, but otherwise little or no rain is expected.
All right. And the winds?
Winds will blow generally from the east at 5 to 15 knots.
And let's talk about the temperatures. How hot is it going to be?
Okay, today the high temperatures will reach about 90 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 98 inland, and 82 in the hills.
And for tonight?
Tonight, the low temperatures will range from 81 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 76 inland, and 70 in the hills.
Okay.
To make a note, yesterday, the highest temperature that we have recorded from the automatic weather stations was 104 degrees from Chalk Creek.
Ooh, all right.
So it might reach more than 98 in that area today.
Okay. And I know you have an advisory for the heat as well. Tell us about that.
Yes, we advise residents to stay hydrated and avoid outdoor activities as much as possible during the daytime.
All right. And for the next few days, what can we expect?
I expect generally fair, warm, mostly dry weather to continue. We're seeing a slight increase in moisture towards midweek, but nothing significant looking at this time.
And the heat will remain about the same?
It will decrease a bit. We have some wind shifts, so we might get slightly less warm temperatures.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that update.
You're welcome.
You have a great day.
Thank you, too.
All right.
She just confirmed that, in fact, yesterday was a scorcher.
104 near Chalk Creek. And that's just real temperature. When you add in the humidity, it's even hotter.
We're indoors and look, this weekend, I'd probably say on record that it's been extremely hot. And even at nighttime, you kind of have to sleep with your fans or your windows open or your AC on because it's serious.
Yeah. I think it was last week I was reading that there was an extreme heat wave with record-breaking temperatures in India and Pakistan. They were looking at 114. So we go back to it each time. Things have changed. The weather patterns have changed. We had rain in the beginning of April. And this is more seasonal, but we've seen higher temperatures over time too. I do want to, of course, make note of what was mentioned in the advisory. Staying hydrated is so absolutely important, especially for two groups of people, for all of us, but especially for the elderly and especially for the young. Their bodies don't regulate the same, so they may not know that they need more liquid, but you have to be able to continuously advise them to do so. When it's hot like this and you're sweating, we all get real sweaty very fast, you can become dehydrated real quickly. So please pay attention to that advisory as well. And they ask if you can stay indoors. Some people can make that choice. Some people do have work that will take them out.
Puts them outdoors for the better part of the day, yes.
All right, so that's our eye opener on weather. Now it's time for us to get moving into our Eye on the News.
So today's discussion will be an extended one in terms of everything that happened over the weekend and what we can also expect in the days ahead. I'll begin first of all by discussing the brief visit of the Mexican president to Belize on Saturday. Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, AMLO, visited Belize on Saturday, only for a few hours, where he called on Prime Minister John Briceño at the Leng Building here in Belize City. And a high-level meeting took place between both leaders, out of which several agreements were met, and of course, other arrangements in terms of the bilateral relations between Belize and Mexico were also hammered out, so to speak, right? It is, one, the first visit of a Mexican president in several years. The last was in 2017 when the then President Peña Nieto visited Belize for the CARICOM summit, right? So that was in 2017. So now with AMLO visiting Belize on Saturday, it kind of strengthens or renews the fact that we do have a strong relationship with Mexico as partners in this region, right? And of course, AMLO's visit was part of a tour, so to speak, that includes Guatemala and other countries in Central America before he moved on to Cuba, right? So it was rather brief, and of course, the Prime Minister extended an invitation for him to return on a more casual note somewhere down the road, perhaps during his presidency. But going back a bit to the significance of this visit, Marlene, it comes at a time where not only the region, but more specifically, Belize and Mexico are facing certain challenges, either of an economic nature or whatever it may be. But the fact that we are neighboring countries, we're facing these issues together because of proximity. And so to have the Mexican president reaffirm that we're in this together, so to speak, allows us to be able to say, you know what? Whatever those challenges are, if Mexico is sort of like a big brother, then we know that we have the support of the Mexican government or the Mexican people. And I say that because when you look at the trade relations, for instance, between Belize and Mexico, a lot has been going on between both governments in terms of being able to facilitate trade. And one of the things that came out of it is the fact that there will be zero tariff going forward in terms of agriculture trade, right? And so that is important for us because we're trying to see how best we can tap into the Mexican market for agricultural products that we are trying to export, you know, within CARICOM 1 and 2, of course, North America, with Mexico being the first country from Belize in North America, so to speak.
Yeah. No, this was definitely one of the big news, big points that came out from the weekend following the discussions. Of course, the groundwork for it is usually done ahead of time, but they were able to confirm that. You know, one of the things I know that time and time again when we talk about the different industries we have in Belize, especially the agricultural industry, is that having access to different markets is important. And CARICOM and the regional integration that we're doing, while it's a worthwhile effort, we will always have additional challenges of transport costs to be able to get to other Caribbean countries. Mexico is right next door, Guatemala is right next door, and so it does open up a much larger market. You're talking about the population of Mexico, but you're also talking about the millions of people who travel there for tourism. And so that alone, I remember a long time ago, when there was a meeting between the Cattle Association and the Mexican Chamber of Commerce, who came for a visit. They talked about how much steak tourists come and order when they come just to Cancun, that they didn't have enough to supply. And so, you look at all these opportunities that exist, and this is definitely a step in the right direction for us, because it alleviates at least some of the costs associated with being able to export or agricultural products.
Yes. So that trip, again, as I said, there's a certain significance. Now, we do have interviews that came out of the session on Saturday with the Mexican president as well. And so what I want to do at this point is go to one of the clips where there was the press brief that immediately followed the meeting that was held at the Leng building.
All right. So this would be Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Jose Mai, and he speaks specifically on the issue of the, they're pulling up the video now, so we have to wait a bit. But the interview, he explains a bit more about this development. All right, so we're gonna play that for you once it's ready. They're gonna work on getting that for us. As we said, that's one of the developments from this meeting, and there are a couple other commitments. We've received the joint press release so far. The other includes, all right, we got the video ready?
Central America, Honduras, Salvador, Guatemala, and now Belize. Mexico has offered to provide assistance to 2,000 farmers. It means that 2,000 farmers will be getting a small stipend monthly for 4 months to produce selected commodities, which we have to determine at the technical team and the Ministry of Agriculture. They will also provide agro inputs for the production of these commodities. We estimate that it could be between $8 and $10 million that this program will be supporting in terms of value of the project. So it is a tremendous boost to the productive sector. It is targeting small farmers. And I think that this is one of the greatest moments in the history of these two countries. 2,000 small farmers receiving this kind of assistance at a time when we are recovering from COVID, I think is one of the greatest things that happened to us.
How excited are you by this program?
Like from what the president announced today, I am extremely happy. I cannot find the words. I think the Mexican president and his government have been extremely kind to Belize. Yeah, the announcement today of Sembrando Vida and the announcement of a tariff-free export to Mexico is something that we've been dreaming of for many, many years. Since I was a public officer in the Ministry of Agriculture, we have been talking about tariffs to Mexico, reducing tariffs to Mexico. His announcement today of Belize being able to export to Mexico, Belize being able to export to Mexico tariff-free is really history in the making. The effect this will have on the productive sector is just incredible. The export of commodities.
The Prime Minister called it a game changer. Is it, you are very familiar with agriculture, not only in the office but on the ground. Is this a game changer?
Absolutely, it's just a game changer plus. It is a total change in the production and economics of this country. Agriculture now stands to boost from this tariff-free access to the Mexican market. It is just, I cannot even imagine the level of increase in production we will have in this country and export to Mexico. Mexico has 123 million people. Mexico as my main trading partner, I need nobody else. That's all I want. I want to really thank Prime Minister Jan Briceño and Eamon Courtney for never giving up on the farmers' request to negotiate with Mexico and to convince Mexico that this was the way to go. I'm really, really happy and pleased for this announcement, and I want to wish all the farmers of this country well. I congratulate all of them. This is really a game changer for us.
Right, so that's Minister Mai talking about this development. There were, as I said before, there were other agreements made or commitments made. One included adding additional schools or supporting the creation of additional schools in Belize. Of course, there's Escuela Mexico in Corozal, and the commitment at this time is to look into being able to create at least 3 more schools in the country. There's also the moving further with the idea of doing the Maya train, which is kind of the connection between Mexico and Belize for tourist purposes. And also there is the looking into the idea of building in more flights from Belize to Mexico.
So that is the first, as I mentioned, of several events that took place over the weekend, right? On Saturday as well, Belize officially began hosting the Tradewinds exercise. Now, for those who may not know what Tradewinds is, it's the annual coming together of security forces from various countries within the region for the purpose of conducting training operations. Belize is hosting this year. I know that during the pandemic period, they kind of postponed having any such exercise because of COVID-19, obviously. So they have resumed Tradewinds, and of course, the Prime Minister and the Minister of National Security and the Minister of Home Affairs and New Growth Industries were on hand on Saturday to officially open the Tradewinds exercise with the United States Southern Command officials. Now, I say that to say this, that immediately following the opening of Tradewinds, we were able to speak with a few key people who, as I mentioned, were present for that ceremony in Ladyville. One of those individuals, of course, was the Minister of Home Affairs, and there's a lot that we caught up with him with, but we'll only focus at this point on one particular issue that was revisited, so to speak. We know that last year there was the landing of a drug plane in the general vicinity of Bladen, right? And several police officers were arrested and charged and subsequently placed on interdiction in connection with the landing of this aircraft. And these men fell directly under the command of Assistant Commissioner of Police Marco Vidal, who himself was placed under investigation to see if there was any wrongdoing that was committed on his part in respect of this situation that I described. And after several months, reporters were able to follow up with the Minister of Home Affairs, Karim Musa, to find out what became of that investigation. Well, we have since been told that the ministry is working with the attorney for Mr. Vidal to see how he can be placed on early retirement. And so what we'll do at this point, we'll go to that clip where the question was posed to the Minister of Home Affairs, and this is his response.
Yes, as you know, the investigation specifically into Vidal's involvement or non-involvement, ACP's involvement or non-involvement in the drug plane landing. There was nothing that was uncovered in that investigation, but I can confirm that we are in talks with his attorney at law to have him go on early retirement.
But it's you all that failed to produce within the specified 90 days. You all failed to produce the findings of any investigation.
Produce it to you?
Produce it to the Security Services Commission. That is a requirement. You all made public allegations against this man, the commissioner and yourself, that there were administrative irregularities.
Yes.
But you had 90 days to produce something for the Security Services Commission, and you failed.
I don't know that that is the case, Jules. What I'm telling you is that there was no criminal wrongdoing that was uncovered, and as such we are in talks, like I said, with his attorney to have that matter settled.
But we've had a sovereign level failure, a sovereign level exposure of Belize as the state or agents of the state, high-level agents facilitating the landing of drug planes. That is the allegation. And you mean out of this huge sovereign level embarrassment, you can't come up with nothing concrete, sir?
I don't know if you were there, Jules, but you saw the police officers who were arrested and charged. I don't see how you have arrived at the conclusion that we have not arrested and charged.
These officers were allowed to operate with impunity as members of COS by Mr. Vidal, empowered by Mr. Williams, with your agreement, acquiescence. With your acquiescence.
Absolutely not.
They operated with impunity. They moved around this country at will and at whim.
I would not agree with you at all on that, Jules. I know you put that to the Commissioner of Police in the past, and he has said he's not one that micromanages, but I don't think you expect me as minister to be following around these officers to see what exactly they're doing in their course of duties, but there was never any report made. I know that there are rumors of their acting with impunity, and if those have materialized into, in fact, allegations, formal allegations, then further action could have been taken at a disciplinary level within the police department, but there's nothing on file. But like you, I've heard those rumors. I don't have proof of that. We do operate in a system whereby you need to have concrete evidence against individuals, especially public officers, in order to move against them. I feel...
All right.
All right. So that was the Minister of New Growth Industries, the Minister of Home Affairs, my apology, discussing the issue with ACP Marco Vidal and what's to happen.
He basically says nothing was really found, nothing concrete was found, but they are nonetheless negotiating the terms for his early retirement.
Because you would appreciate that under those circumstances, several allegations were made, not necessarily by the police department, but other people were saying, well, look, there may have been some kind of involvement or what have you, and that is what triggered the investigation. Absolutely. And they weren't able to uncover anything damning to say, well, indeed, he was involved or what have you.
Yeah. So that is a big development following this story that we had been covering for quite some time.
Yes. Yeah. All right, so the other thing, and I'm going to kind of go back a bit on this one. Since the cabinet brief last week, in which there was an announcement that there will be an amalgamation of the courts to form what will be called the High Court of Belize, where you're looking at a merger between the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. And there will be a new Chief Justice who will be able to go back and forth between both courts, right? It is important because, one, the Attorney General's ministry and the persons who have been looking at this particular legislation very carefully have been drawing from other similar arrangements within the region, right? And I know that Randall Shepard, as one of the architects of this or the drafters of this particular legislation, mentioned in a presentation that was made on Friday that they have been indeed looking at various jurisdictions and see how their systems are set up so that we can draw from that to create the High Court. Now, there will be, as far as we were told on Friday, a House meeting coming up at the end of the week where the piece of legislation will be tabled for the first reading, and then it will subsequently be read through and then pass the law if that's what takes place. But again, this will see one unified court system where persons will be able to access certain services, which will, one, considerably alleviate some of the bottleneck that we've been seeing in terms of the rendering of judgments in the Supreme Court. So this will make for an easier process, right? Of course, it comes at cost. I mean, being able to bring all of these systems together and being able to house these various offices will in fact require a budget. And from what the Attorney General shared with us on Friday, this budget will be reflected in the 2023-2024 fiscal calendar. So we'll expect that next year, right, in terms of the monies being allocated for this particular initiative. But it is welcomed. Perhaps it's overdue, or some would say, well, this should have been long in the making. But that's where we are at this point, and I'm mentioning that because it's something that we will look forward to in terms of it being tabled at the next House meeting. All right. So one other thing, Marlene, one other thing that I wanted to touch on, and this is from a sort of a regional perspective. When we were looking at the issue of inflation, right, I know that most of us have been centering our thoughts on what's taking place in Belize. But when you look at what's happening outside of Belize as well, cost of goods and services is going up, right? When you look at the United States, I was reading an article recently where they too have been complaining of inflation. Now, traditionally, theirs is between 2 to 4%. And what they've been experiencing of late is that it's well beyond the 2 to 4% threshold. And so you have people who are complaining about the cost of items on the shelf, in much the same way we've been complaining about the cost of items on shelves locally. And I say this, and I'll conclude with it, is here's another interesting thing. The cost of baby formula and the scarcity of baby formula in the United States is making headlines as well. Now, there's this thing where we say, when the United States sneezes, we catch a fresh cold, right? So perhaps it will be something that affects us, the scarcity of baby formula. It's something that when I read the article, I was like, could it be? How could it be, that there is such a thing that, an item such as this where, you have mothers all over the United States. You have mothers elsewhere who depend on formula because that's what you feed your kids, your newborn, right? And so we import some of these items, these food items. So it's, it's something where we're going to be looking carefully to see what will be the scenario here when that time comes around.
Yeah, that is something to follow because that does have a wide reach. And even for parents who do breastfeed, which is the recommendation, there needs to be an introduction after 6 months of formula or some of the fortified foods as well. But of course, we got to wrap things up with Eye on the News for this morning. So look out for these stories and more in our newscast tonight at 6 p.m. All right, and we're going to get moving into our show for today, and our first conversation, the International Day of Families is coming up, and so we're going to be joined by representatives of the National Commission for Families and Children, and they're going to be talking about the celebration of this day and the state of families in Belize.
All right, our second conversation, also over the weekend there was a basketball tournament that was held here in Belize City, and so we're going to be joined by representatives of the police department as well as the leadership intervention unit to discuss the Sprite Live Life Youth Basketball Tournament. It's a tongue twister there.
That's right. All right. And how are the sports activities meant to help to curb the crime that we see in the city? So that's what we have in store for you. We're going to go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we're going to be focusing on families, the state of families in Belize. So please stay tuned.
Download the SmartStream app on the Android Play Store and create your account to get access to movies and stream at home or on the go. Prepaid customers can purchase regular data packages or get a discounted rate on a special SmartStream package by dialing 7737. Postpaid customers will be billed monthly. Never miss a movie again with SmartStream.
After a rough week of school, Jake and his friends decide to treat themselves to frozen coffee. And since they don't have cash on them, they decide to use eCash. With eCash's geolocation feature, Jake can easily find the nearest coffee spot. With eCash's built-in option to split bills, Jake can pay the bill and his friends can reimburse their portion of the bill. Jake scans the merchant's code and confirms payment. Jake then views his transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the Split the Bill button where he selects the Evenly option to evenly split the bill. The application splits the bill automatically. His friends receive and accept the request. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash makes Jake enjoy his digital lifestyle.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Applying for a Social Security sickness benefit? Here's what you need to know. A complete claims package includes 1. Sickness claim form fully completed by the claimant and medical doctor. 2. Salaries record form completed by the employer or HR representative. 3. Proof of bank account such as bank book, online banking, or statement displaying your name and account number. To submit via email, you need to take a clear photo or scan of the documents and email to claims@socialsecurity.org.bz. Be sure to include your full name, social security number, and benefit type in the subject line of the email. Or you can drop off all completed forms into the Dropbox slot at the nearest branch office. Deadline to submit is 14 days from your first day of illness. All forms are available on the website at www.socialsecurity.org.bz. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Galenia Hospital, located in Cancun, Mexico's premier tourism destination, is a state-of-the-art healthcare facility that provides highly specialized medical services. We are Quintana Roo's biggest private hospital with board-certified doctors and staff. Some of our services include Cath Lab, Adult Intensive Care Unit, Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, emergency rooms, operating theaters, ambulance services, and more. We are a medically accredited hospital by JCI, Accreditation Canada International, and General Health Council, providing extraordinary care in every specialty, from our cardiology department to our neurology center. We are focused on treating the entire person, body, mind, and spirit. Contact us at medicaltourism@hospitalgalenia.com or visit our website at www.hospitalgalenia.com. Come to Galenia Hospital in Cancun for a truly personal medical care experience.
And welcome back. Our conversation at this point is with various stakeholders, Marlene, to discuss the state of families as we will be commemorating International Day of Families. Now we have in studio with us the Executive Director of the NCFC, Franisha Augustine. Good morning.
Good morning.
We also have Denise Roberto. She's an ECD and Education Officer with UNICEF Belize. Good morning.
Good morning.
And of course, joining us via Zoom is the Director of the Community Rehabilitation Department, Starla Bradley. Good morning, Starla.
Hi, good morning.
When we discuss families, it's a very broad topic that, of course, involves various concerns, various activities, and of course, outlook and projections in terms of how we're better able to strengthen families. Let's start first of all by perhaps looking at some of the concerns of the modern family in Belize. Perhaps we can begin with you.
Sure, sure. So good morning. Thank you for having us. UNICEF's own advocacy and support for the International Day of Families really is looking at parenting for this year and advocacy for proper parenting practices. And so we support the National Commission for Families and Children for the past couple of years with a National Parenting Task Force that has really led the work in looking at interventions, activities for families, for parenting in Belize.
Yeah.
Some of the concerns as you related to just a while ago, Isani, can look at our navigating the impacts of COVID-19, for example, and what that has done to exacerbate the problems or the issues in parenting in Belize. One of the critical things is really the learning divide and the crisis with children being at home. And with home, for example, some homes are not safe spaces, some communities are not safe spaces, and really some children then are isolated or don't have the support that they would ordinarily have at school to disclose violence issues or to seek support or to get help. So that's just one area, and then we look at the whole aspect of mental well-being and psychosocial support. Parents need that. Parents have lost jobs, children have lost parents, and so there really is that whole issue of adequate mental well-being, psychosocial support. May is the month of mental health and well-being as well. So in celebrating the International Day of Families, UNICEF is really supporting advocacy for parenting on a whole and support to parenting in society in Belize.
That's such a when you look at a family, the role of the parents is so absolutely important. But let's be realistic about it. It's one of the most important jobs that require zero qualifications and literally has to be done for the love of the job. How do you go about helping people to access tools to learn how to be better parents? Pranisha, you want to take that?
For us, it is at NCFCs more so making the information there for them, One of the things that we're working on currently is the parenting show. We have the launching of our parenting show. That is one of the avenues that will be shared with parents when it comes to parenting their child. We look at issues like Ms. Denise rightfully said, mental health. We have episodes that target mental health and how you're going to deal with mental health with the children and even parents. We have episodes that target COVID-19, the children being out of school. So all of these things will be shared with them, and we're hoping that they're able to utilize the skill sets that we're displaying to them, no? We also have the parenting guide that is at NCFC, and we've shared that with a lot of people, including schools that have them, so that the information is there for them, so that they're able to share those things with parents.
And from your end, Starla, of course, working with community rehabilitation, it's an intervention process at times as well when the family unit isn't as strong as it needs to be.
Indeed, and not just within community rehab, but across the ministry. We work with families at their most vulnerable points, whether it's child abuse and neglect, domestic violence, working with children who come in conflict with the law. We can never work with just the child in isolation. We have to work with the family. And that's from a social work perspective, where we're trying to impact the person and their environment. So there are myriad of issues that these families come with. And as social workers, we continuously try to work with the families and looking at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Of course, you have to address basic needs first, but from there, how do you continue to empower these families and provide support, not just to the children, but to the parents to be better equipped or feel more confident as parents and to navigate the systems that do impact the family. So it's challenging, especially given the many challenges that we're facing in society, but it's the focus of the ministry in terms of trying to empower families.
You know, when we talk about country development and where we want Belize to go, I don't think we dive down deep enough to realize that this is where it starts. It's an individual basis, but we're all members of a family, raised and grown and given our belief system and moral structures from parents. This is really, if there's any change that we want to make, where it would start. There have been a number of efforts. I keep on hearing from all of you. You know, you talked about your parenting guide and training. I know UNICEF supports in a number of different ways. There are even, I know, community workers who go into communities and go into households and teach families how to play with their children in early childhood development. Let's talk about some of the things that are ongoing, that have been working, but that you need more people to buy into. Who wants to start?
Well, I'll start with, given that you touched on early childhood development and you know that that's my passion. Indeed, when we invest in children in the early years, the first 2 years, that's really very, very critical, and it sets the stage. So the ministries and the government of Belize are looking at expanding and rolling out a national program for reaching more families on the ground. And one such way would be incorporating care for child development through a home visiting program. So what you alluded to was the roving caregivers program that's being implemented in rural areas, Toledo, as well as in Southside Belize City. But with the investment of 3 line ministries, Ministry of Education, Health and Human Development, the Early Childhood Development Technical Working Group is looking at expanding to a home visiting program where all pregnant mothers are reached and where all children between the ages of birth to 6 years old will be reached by home visitors who will be trained. So this is one initiative that UNICEF will be scaling up with the government of Belize to impact and to create early childhood development access.
Help us understand the difference between the outcomes. If there's this investment made in the first 2 years versus what a lot of parents are forced to do, which is either daycare, babysitter, or tablet or TV. What's the difference in the outcome for the child if you invest in doing the activities suggested?
Definitely. There is less violence. Usually if we have parents trained and understanding that child development starts from very early, and that a child who may spill that cup there that you have on the table at 2 years old is not really being rude, but is exploring and learning, and therefore then we don't hit children, because the multiple indicator cluster survey does show that children between the ages of 3 to 4, I think like 65% of children between that ages have been violently hit. And so we have a high incidence of violence in early childhood. If we invest in children at an early age, then there will be a reduction in violence, because parents will be playing, communicating, understanding child development, and working with children. That's just one. Another outcome would be that children will have better economic benefits. When we invest in children early in their language development, learning, play, cognitive development, then these children stay in school and we have a better return in investment. When we prepare our trainers in Care for Child Development, we speak about the Jamaica study, for example, that shows that children who receive stimulation, as early stimulation, as well as proper nutrition and interventions such as ECD, then have a better return in economic chances later on.
What is interesting is the fact that for whatever reason, we tend to focus more on primary and secondary.
And little on early childhood, indeed.
But early childhood development is perhaps the most critical of them all, because those are the formative years for children. That's when they're able to absorb as much as they can in terms of learning and in terms of being able to interact.
Yes.
And probably that is why too it's important for us to share the information with the wider society, because I believe that we think that it was okay, our parents did this to us back then and we turned out to be proper citizens, but is that really true? If you look at what's happening now, you know, so it's something to really and truly look at.
Anisha, I use that example all the time. When people say, we turn out okay, I say, well, let's look around for a moment. How satisfied are we with where we are today?
Exactly.
And one reality, and Starla, I think you can maybe get into that one, is when we see children ending up in the system. It's not the desired outcome, but it does happen. Let's shed some light on that end.
Indeed, when families, the children ending up in the system is the product of families experiencing all the different various frustrations and stressors. And the challenge that we've been facing, quite honestly, with children entering the system is engaging parents in the intervention process as well. That's been one of the biggest challenges. And you know, even if a child is removed for child abuse and neglect, or they end up coming in conflict with the law, children still need their parents, they still need family support, they still need that connection. And the hope is always to reunify children with their families. And that is the goal of the entire ministry. But when that isn't possible, the impact that that has on these children, these are lifelong impacts as well. So it's very difficult, and quite honestly, that's one of the biggest challenges right now, engaging parents in the process. Quite often it's the child has the problem or the child is displaying these behaviors, but getting the parent to see and understand how what's going on in the home is actually impacting the child, and getting them to understand that, you know, the intervention has to be across the board, like the family dynamics, issues within the home have to be addressed. That's often a challenge. It's possible, but it's often a very slow process because of the way we're socialized, and maybe all the intergenerational traumas that the parents themselves have experienced. So that type of change and engagement is definitely challenging, but it's a slow process. But once you get them to that point, it's really wonderful to see that.
Yeah. And you have two there may be more, but you have two categories of children who end up in institutions. Some who come in conflict with the law, and some who've been removed from families for safety issues. Let's for a moment focus on what happens there at Hostel. I know there is a move, if you can tell me where it is now, to be able to remove the option to commit your child for what was once deemed uncontrollable behavior. A very nebulous term that, I could just say, I can't deal with them, they don't listen to me, here, put them in Hostel.
Well, the last time I was on the show, we were, yes, in that process of pushing through the legal amendments. And I'm happy to say that our minister, Dolores Valderramos Garcia, presented that in the House, and it was passed on December 17th. So the situation now is that the Certified Institutions Act, which allows parents to go to the court and say that they cannot control their child and they want to put them in the hostel, that has been removed. What happens now is we're looking at it more from a child protection standpoint, where once the family comes into the court or to the police or directly to the department, we try to intervene first. So hostel is the last option rather than the first, right? And now we have provisions under FACA helping us, because there will be some parents who will come in and they will voluntarily work with you, right? But there might be those who, they just want the issues with the child to be fixed and they don't want any part of it. But if we do our assessment and we see that, there are some child protection issues, there are some parenting issues, then if they don't want to work with us voluntarily, we have the option to go to the court to seek a supervision order, which then gives us the support of the court to then say to the parent, these are some conditions that we need to put in place. In those instances, if the parents still don't comply and the behaviors of the child put the child at risk as well, because there are some parents who do try with their children, but just because of circumstances, issues, and maybe the family dynamics, lack of supervision and support that family has, the child's behaviors might be putting that child at risk of harm. Then we would opt to, as a last resort, put the child into the institution. But we really try to work with them in the community voluntarily first. That's always the best option.
Let's look at this from the reality of what we know today. The poverty rate is around 60%. That's a guess. The census rolls out soon. A parent at times maybe wants to be a good parent, but also knows the basic instinct is to provide what is necessary for survival: food, shelter, and whatnot. Sometimes they're occupied with work. They have to leave the 2-year-old with the 9-year-old. They have to put them with a babysitter, maybe that they haven't had the chance to vet, or a family member. How do you intervene when it is a matter of simply being able to choose survival over what will make you a better developed child? Who wants to take that one?
Well, I can start in terms of just how we work with families in our case management process. There might be some families who indeed they need support, and we do have a division under the Women's and Family Support Department that focuses on family support, but the provisions under the different the various types of assistance that we can access through the different departments is what we use to support parents. So let's say, I'll use the example that you've given, Marlene. this parent, single parent, needs to work, has a 2-year-old, has a 9-year-old, no family support. They need to go to work. What do? They leave the children at home alone. In cases like that, when you go in and you find out, you do a proper assessment and you find out what the issues are, the first thing is not to remove. The first thing is, okay, how can we support this parent to better take care of and provide for her children? So in those instances when we're working with families, we're able to support with babysitting. We're able to support, let's say, this person wants to do some skills training. It will take 3 months to get that certification before he or she can get a job. But they need childcare for that period. So we would actually help them to pay a babysitter for a period of time. It's for a period of time, like it's initial, like a few months first, and then based on an assessment, if it needs to be extended, it is extended case by case. So we do provide that level of support depending on the dynamics, the issues that the family brings. Sometimes it's medical assistance, sometimes it's food, even though they're working. We even provide rent assistance to the families that we work with. And again, it depends on the needs, right? We don't cover everything. It has to be where they take responsibility as well, and it is understood that we are working with you to help to empower you. You're going through a crisis, and we'll support during this period of time, but the goal is always to help them so that they don't need us anymore.
What do you see more often? This situation happening in single parent households, or do you find that there are in fact situations that involve kids in this particular scenario that have both parents at home with them?
Quite honestly, Sani, it can be single parent, it can be parents with both parents, any household. Right now, because of the economic situation, and depending on the level of income that the breadwinners or the parents bring into the home, we have what we call a lot of people who are considered to be the working poor. They're working. They have a job they go to, whether part-time or for a full-time, but the amount that they make, considering the cost of living, considering rent, considering high school fees if they have several children to provide for, it's a very difficult situation. So it doesn't matter. The face of the family really doesn't matter. We're seeing it across the board.
Yeah. So looking at the focus of families, the day itself is the 15th of May. How do you, I mean, it's so perfectly timed. It goes from Mother's Day to Family's Day, and then we're going to move into Father's Day celebration, right?
That as an afterthought.
Everybody. you got a buffer, right? Somebody has to go first and last. But I think the idea is that you bring the focus back to the families. And I know there are Belizeans across this country that have said, you know, we got to work on strengthening our families. So how do you use the time to, whether it's parenting or working with children, stimulating children at a younger age, or even, you know, your adolescent children who can be challenging to deal with, how you encourage them as well? How do you put it all into perspective in this time?
Well, basically, it's just for us to provide it, no? Provide whatever information we can to them. For example, right now, the theme for this year's International Day of the Families is Families and New Technologies. So what we're doing is that we're utilizing technology, more so our social media pages, to get our young people involved. And we know that they're loving these challenges, so to speak. So we try to find alluring ways for them to be able to participate and be able to appreciate what they have. Currently, we have the longest marriage challenge, whereby they're going to post a picture, even a video, stating why or how long these two people have been married. Maybe it could be their grandparents. And their grandparents will say reasons why, how were they able to be married for this long. We have the single parent challenge.
I wonder, what type of years are you getting these days?
Well, so far we have somebody who has been married for 50 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes. Wow. So we also have the single parent challenge, and it could be from the single parent being the dad only or the mother. We have a lot of different challenges on our social media pages trying to get them involved, the children involved. For parents now, we know there are some who are not technologically savvy. So we will be hosting the International Day of the Families activities at the Battlefield Park, where they'll be able to go there physically, and various information will be shared with them. I don't know if you want me to go over that now, but that's just one way, you know.
And the support level from UNICEF?
Well, I'm sorry. We indeed have been supporting technically and financially over the past years. There is a National Parenting Task Force, as I shared, which has different stakeholders from the government of Belize, technical officers from health, education, human development. We have Restore Belize, we have the Belize Family Life Association, for example, other parents, technical people from CRD. And so these stakeholders all work in parenting interventions. They all contribute to the National Parenting Guide, which is the content for the parenting show that Franisha spoke about that will be launched. And so our technical work will continue throughout the year in various interventions to reach parents. Last year, with the support of all these stakeholders and with our technical and financial resources, I believe we reached over 1,500 parents directly with interventions, with support, with knowledge, with content.
How do you teach people to parent? Like, what's actually in the parenting training that you talk of?
Definitely, we have different topics that range from early childhood development through to adolescence across the life cycle. When we look at parenting, we're looking across the life cycle, and so the stages of development, it's important. We look at gender norms and gender transformative approaches and those sorts of interventions. Education, it's all structured with the rights, within the rights of a child and the rights that children have to survive, to be protected, to grow, to thrive. So those are some of the topics: nutrition, hygiene, care, definitely violence and preventing violence, and support strategies, strategies for communication, strategies to support parents, referrals, services that are available, because rightly so, parents are becoming parents at young age.
Well, that was going to be the next question I was going to ask. Should we, and I don't know if this is in the works, but at least Wayne, opinion, should we start to introduce some of this information from high school or tertiary level? At least we're teaching life skills, and it's important that people at least have some other foundation. Is that somewhere in the thought for the future?
Well, I was thinking that it was already in there.
Okay.
Yeah. I know at the primary level, you try to teach them ways as to how they should wait until marriage. But we know that at the end of the day, though that is what we would like, these children are exposed to a lot. So it's built upon at the secondary level.
For you, Starla?
Sorry, Marlene?
Yes, I was getting your weighing on that, if we should maybe introduce some of these parenting lessons from high school.
It would definitely help. I think some of the aspects might already be infused when you look at issues of gender and gender norms, probably taking that on a bit earlier in high school and just looking at basic health and hygiene and how do you apply that to caring for others. I think there's opportunity for it.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of young parents, so it would be helpful.
Yeah. So let's just close off, I guess, with talking about some of the activities that are coming up in celebration of International Families Day.
Yes, so we know that on Friday of this week, collaborating with Channel 5, of course, we will be having the cooking show.
Yes.
Whereby we will have an NCFC family on the cooking show talking about how they parent or how some of the challenges that they go through while parenting their child.
Yeah.
On Friday as well, we will also be having a motorcade. Now, the motorcade is just to have the wider society know what exactly we're going to do the following day. So far, we have participation from NCFC, of course, Women's Commission, the Department of Youth Services. We also have from DHS and CRD. So that's what we're going to have on the Friday. So we'll start off with that motorcade. On D-Day, which is this Saturday, we will be having the Family Fun Day at Battlefield Park. We have participation from DJ, Sagicor, Ministry of Health and Wellness, Belize Family Life Association, and also the Department of Youth Services. So all of these departments will have a booth there whereby they're going to share the services that they offer. So again, that's aside from having activities, well, fun activities for the children. So we have Miss Lurleen Gamboa, who is going to be the MC there. And again, we have, like I said earlier, different activities. We'll have the basketball games right in a little area. We will have some online games for them to play, and again, they will have their prizes. We're also hoping to also have the individuals that will or would have won the challenges to claim their prize there. Now going to our donors, we have collected so far, or we have on the list James Brody's, and again we would like to give thanks to them. They're donating gift certificates. Bowen and Bowen, they have donated items to us as well. Sagicor, Suncast, they have donated gift baskets. Smart have donated a cell phone, so somebody will have a new cell phone quite soon. Atlantic Bank have donated cash, and DJ have donated credits. So we have a list
lots of prizes that people can
a lot
win.
of prizes. And if anybody else would like to donate, we'll accept it freely.
All right. So that's there's a motorcade, there's the cooking segment that we have on Friday, and then you have a motorcade, and then on Saturday, Battlefield Park.
Yes.
You'll have activities in other districts too, or just Belize City?
Well, we're going to be live. We wanted to do the radio show. However, it's not working the way we would like to. So we'll do the live streaming, whereby it will be, once they have internet access, they'll be have
able
access
to
to
join.
it. Yeah.
Okay. And as we close off, go ahead.
Lenny, just to share what the ministry is doing as well, on the actual day, May 15th, that's the Sunday. You know, for a long time, we've wanted to rename the youth hostel. So we will be unveiling the sign and the new logo on Sunday at 1 p.m. at the, well, let me announce the name now.
Please.
And this is a very special name. It's special because the kids from the institution came up with the name. It's going to be called New Beginnings Youth Development Center. Like I said, and please just allow me to read a little paragraph from their submission.
Yes.
We believe this, sorry, put on my glasses. We believe this new name clearly states what is expected of youth. We truly believe that for the first time, the name will represent something to the youth who come here and will give them time to think about why they are here and they can spend their time occupying their minds with positive things that enrich their mentality. When you hear the name hostel, in your mind, your conscience starts to wander and you think it's a jail or a terrifying place where children are being locked away. But once we change to the New Beginnings Youth Development Center, people will know that this is a place where children come to change their lives and their personality and become someone better in life than they were and be successful and accomplished. We want the outside world to know that we have talented youths. We want the youth to leave here with positive minds and good behavior. We want them to cooperate here so they can cooperate out there. The reason why we've called it the New Beginnings Youth Development Training Center is because this place provides us with the skills necessary for us to have a fresh start, no matter who we were before. This place should be a place where we have the ability to create a new beginning for ourselves. For example, we can work on our education and further our skills, so when we return home, we can do the right things and do what was learned at the New Beginnings Youth Development Center. And so
that's beautiful.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is beautiful.
Both our ministers will be there on Sunday, and we're making it a big affair because it is International Day of Families. So we're inviting the families of these children to come and be there. We'll have games. The kids and the staff are so excited. They're already planning their program and they're making their own decorations. We'll have games for parents and children. There will be a raffle. And the thing that I like best is the photo booth. We'll be having a photo booth on site that parents and kids can take pictures and make memories, and they'll be printed instantly. So, the child gets one, the parent gets one. It's going to be a fun day, and we are going to celebrate. So we're looking forward to that.
So the new name is New Beginning Youth Development Center. That is very fitting, and I think you said it was that paragraph that you read was from a resident.
It's from actually a group of residents came together and came up with the name and wrote the submission.
Nice.
So in the press release that we send out next week, we'll have more details.
All right.
So yes, the kids who are there now came up with that.
All right. Well, we gotta close off, and so I just want to give you an opportunity to say one quick tip to families at home, what they can do to strengthen their bonds together. You start us off, Starla.
Just take time to talk to your kids and listen to them. Even if it's their stories, what they're watching or listening to on social media or on the TV or a show that they're into, just listen to them.
Yeah. And mine would be the same. And I always go back to my little brother. Sometimes we have a very full day at work, and in the evening he wants to tell you, especially since school recently opened, he wants to give you details. This is what happened when I walked through the gate. And then he wants to give you all the information that happened in the order that it happened from beginning to the end of his day. And it's for us to just listen. We need to be able to listen. Yes, we're tired, but it's important for us to just listen to what they have to say. Eventually, you will find that when they're a little bit older, they'll be able to come and talk to you and tell you whatever issues they're having. So it's important for us to listen to what they're saying, even if you're tired.
Well, for me, it's play a game. Play snakes and ladders. Play checkers. Play Monopoly. Some children, it may be not easy for some to speak or for parents to talk. But if you play a game, you're going to get to laughing, you're going to get to some cheating, you're going to get to some playing, and there's going to be interaction, and that really helps. So play a game together.
We thank you so much for those closing tips. And we appreciate the conversation this morning, reminding us of the need to focus on building and strengthening families.
We thank you.
Best of luck with your activities. We are going to go ahead and take a break. One activity you could do is play basketball together, right? We're going to find out more about the Sprite competition being hosted by the police department after the break. So please stay tuned.
Technology is ubiquitous. and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Download the SmartStream app on the Android Play Store and create your account to get access to movies and stream at home or on the go. Prepaid customers can purchase regular data packages or get a discounted rate on a special SmartStream package by dialing 7737. Postpaid customers will be billed monthly. Never miss a movie again with SmartStream.
Hola usuario de eCash, la aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Deja mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. Toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security. Selecciona Language. Y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
Messi! Off goal! What a goal from Leo Messi! What an incredible strike from Leo Messi! Neymar and Messi is standing over this. Messi!
Great entertainment stays with you, and we bring you great entertainment. Next Gen, the ultimate digital experience.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
welcome back. Our final conversation this morning, we have been joined by the Public Relations Officer for the Belize Police Department, none other than Douglas Hyde. Good morning. We have also been joined by the Director of the Leadership Intervention Unit, my good friend William Dawson. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Now we're here to discuss basketball, but in the context of community outreach, so to speak, right? In terms of what the police department has been doing, bringing together young men from various communities in Belize City to participate in the tournament. Now, let's talk first of all about the tournament and what this means for unifying these various neighborhoods.
Go ahead, bro.
First, let me say thanks for the opportunity to be on Open Your Eyes. One of the media hosts that have been supporting us, Channel 5, from our onset in 2015. I can remember clearly Commissioner Williams, then he was the officer commanding Eastern Division, took over, and one of his approach was community policing, and strategy was to reach out in the communities. Every weekend, specifically on Sundays, we would have Community Family Day, and it was in that concept and initiative that the young men from the different neighborhoods, when we were visiting and have these family days, came out and asked the commissioner to let's do something in the area of sports. And he immediately called myself along with, at that time, Assistant Superintendent of Police, Elroy Kakamo, who had community policing, to come up with different initiatives. And I immediately, because of my experience playing basketball over the past years, I immediately put together a document along with Mr. Kakamo, and then we presented to Commissioner. The strategy was to get these different guys in having their own basketball team and competing against each other on their basketball courts. Along with that, we would have literally tried to pull them together to now and again have different sessions with them. And 2015 was the first step. We had a good season, if I can say. Commissioner reach out to places such as Digicel and Boyne, Sports Council, City Council in terms of partnership and sponsorship. And I can tell you we start off with 8 teams. We finished that season with 6. We went into 2016 with 8 again, and we finished with 8. 2017 we went with 10, and we finished with 8. And remember 2018 and 2019 we went to 12 teams and we finished with 10. And COVID came in 2020 and 2021, and that really put a damper with the guys. And during that time we also lost some of them to gun and gang violence and also COVID.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, there's a multi-sectoral approach, and I know Mr. Dawson will talk more about that, that when we had this raise of shootings in the city, the different ministries and organizations got together in looking at what specifically we can do immediately to address some of these issues. I know that one of the discussion came up of intervention through sports. Commissioner Williams immediately put on the table this basketball tournament to revive it and bring it back in the communities. He immediately called me in the office and he said, "Doug, I want you to work with Mr. Dawson in making sure that this happened." Yeah. So I was assigned for the past couple of months, putting the groundwork, working with our team there at Community Policing, meeting with the different organizations, working with our sponsors to revive them back. And I must say a big thank you to the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Minister specifically, Karim Musa, Honorable Karim Musa, Honorable Ferguson from Ministry of Sports and Mr. Usher likewise, and Honorable Dolores, who all came together in supporting this initiative. This year we have 15 teams. Actually we had 18 registered, but 15 we start off with. And the 15 of them are from Belize City and also the Belize districts. First time we have included in the tournament Ladyville, Hattieville, and Mahogany Heights. First time. And this is like a whole new experience for us, but also for them. Because the way how we have strategized it from 2015 is that we have identified 4 different courts in Belize City, basketball courts, such as Complex Basketball Court, Civic Center outside Yaba Green and Buttonwood Bay, that we will rotate the games in the city to play in these different areas, but also we're going to play in Ladyville and Hattieville. Coming this weekend, we're going to have Ladyville court to play at, and we're excited about that too.
Yeah. Now, the idea behind this is to get the communities to put together their own teams. How does this work, especially given the ongoing turf wars that we've been facing?
And that's a good question. Strategy of that was we met with the leaders.
Okay.
So key leaders within these different groups we've spoken to. In fact, we've invited them to discussions, and again, remember how we started off, it was them who reached out to Commissioner back then in terms of the idea. So all we've done over the past years is to continue that dialogue with them in bringing them to the table. They are the ones who then decide their team and select their players. We have no kind of influence in that or in decisions in that. It is them who do that. And very importantly, you would think that because of the different type of guys, you would think that they will bring, how would I say, persons who can play. But believe me, you will see raw talent and skills coming from these different communities that sometimes you would not appreciate because we are already used to seeing the semi-pro level or the other levels of basketball. But you see the raw talent coming out from these neighborhoods, especially from back of Martins Lake, because I have to recognize that there are a lot of talents coming from back of that era and other eras too, but a lot of skills guys come from that era.
So let's look at what happened on Saturday then with the launch of the tournament. It happened at the Complex Court, right? If you look at the neighborhood and the players that come from those neighborhoods, and then you look at the fact that while not all of these individuals who are participating in the tournament belong to a gang, for instance, they do come from other areas of the city that you could identify or associate with a particular group of young men operating in that area. Now, my question has to do with the dynamics of that and, of course, the safety for persons coming in and out of those neighborhoods to participate in this initiative.
Good point. As you rightfully said, these are challenging neighborhoods. The opening ceremony and, of course, the launch of the tournament this past Saturday shows a lot on our coordination and, of course, what we expect during this tournament 5 months. Security, believe me, I made sure that working with the commanders of these different operational teams and, of course, intelligence teams, I have to recognize their support to this initiative. Commissioner made sure that we will have tight security. I would describe it to see how we may lock down for COVID in a period of time. It's that kind of security that we will have during these games. We will have community policing officers who are the officers on ground working with the different teams, along with key people such as from Community Rehab Department and the Department of Youth Services. These are trained counselors, trained social workers, who through this program that we have attached with the tournament is a life skill. The life skills component is working with them on different topics such as anger management, communication skills, conflict resolutions, key topics that when Saturdays the games are played, these, we call them diffusers, will be there to support and assist the members at their game time. But the security will be there to make sure that whatever may be a threat, we will be there in supporting to make sure that things run safe.
That's such a crucial point. William, tell me from an intervention standpoint, what does it say that these young men and members from different communities can come together peacefully in the name of sports, given the crime that we've seen associated with turf wars?
Right, well, as you are aware, the Leadership Intervention Unit is taking a three-pronged approach: social development, change behavior, and a violence interrupter component. And like Douglas said, this is where the multi-sectoral approach takes effect, because we're looking at a multi-agency support system. And in this regard, it's not just about the raw talent that they have about playing basketball, but We're looking at their mental capacity, their state of mind, looking at their character and personality as well. And so we have like Ms. Pamela Dyer from the Counseling and Wellness Department. You know, we have to thank Director Kevin Cale of Department of Youth Services for having the youth officers involved, Community Rehabilitation Department. And on Saturday, they were out there because, you know, sports is a heated event and the best of us get emotional at times when, you know, when we're, and so we're just teaching them how to be able to socialize without creating a big havoc and an issue. And also the idea of being able to traverse the city that they grew up in. This is your city, you shouldn't be able to not go into our next neighborhood. Of course, we're taking the necessary security precautions, but we do want them to feel comfortable being able to play without feeling a threat.
You just said something that I think sometimes a lot of people don't recognize about the city, that some of these young men are confined to the street blocks just around them because of threats that exist beyond that.
Yes. You know, it's a serious issue, and while it is that we are working with some of the older guys, it is that another part of it we're working with the youth, because we don't want the youth from these different communities to feel that restriction where they're already feeling it. In fact, I can tell you in speaking to Brother Timmy Stamp the other day, he has some children that he hosts an after-school program with that he took on a trip. And the children, like it was the first time they've been out of their communities and visited a rural community, and they didn't want to go back basically after, you know, experiencing the joy of being somewhere else other than where they grew up. And those are things that we have to look at seriously. We can't continue to have these children live in this bubble as if though it's the norm. It's not normal to be that way. And also what we are looking at, even with this sporting event, is looking these children's community to see if they have the availability to be able to practice sports and to play as normal children do. So we're looking at the psychosocial dynamics from a mental perspective as well. And so it's serious.
And I guess the unspoken part here is rewarding people for positive engagement. Right. What's the difference that you see in these players when they are being cheered for, when they're being given medals, when the accolades that they get are for performance on the court rather than anything else?
Let me start off first by saying their response to just the season to start. There's a season for them to play is a big feeling. Mr. Dawson could tell you just the preparation. They are all excited. That's the first step. Knowing that they're going to get each member get a free jersey. So you get a full suited jersey. You get a basketball, and you're to compete for first, second, and third prizes and a big trophy. That builds them up. And what we've also what we're doing is to recognize individuals. So the top scorer, the MVP, best rebounder, best disciplined team. All these things are going to be recognized. That's a good feeling. I saw this Saturday uniquely, the happiness and the smiles, and also some of them coming and say, man, thanks to bring back the season, thanks for bringing back we together. In fact, we had one of the members from the defending champions 2019 who spoke at our opening ceremony. His remarks was very powerful because he said, if nothing they look forward to was the tournament, and it also bring them together. They wouldn't have that experience of going from one basketball court to the next if this tournament never happened. Bringing the different groups together is also a great accomplishment because they would, as he mentioned, they would never do something like that. They would never go to our next person basketball court and think you're going to play ball like that and think you just are done like that. So this gives them and there's the high reality that something turn out negative. Now here comes that we are having a competition in their different neighborhoods and the results are positive. I have seen behavioral change in some of these guys over the past years. Some of these guys aren't approachable person. Some of them have some lot of and so they have that way of presenting that first. Here comes now, then they sit down on the table, they talk. Here comes now, they're in the different areas, they talk to each other in a positive way, a constructive way, a calm way, and that's really large, that's huge. You know, and you can't measure those things because there's no actual measuring tape for such, but we see the behavior in some of them. In fact, they are the ones calling the community policing officers in terms of logistics and coordinations, how to pick them up, because we are also in charge of picking them up from the different neighborhoods and taking them after the games in terms of security issues.
And
likewise
that's part of the turf challenge that we talked about.
Right.
But you know, I don't think anybody should sit and believe that this is a change that you see overnight, but it chips away. Learning discipline, seeing that positive activities does bring recognition as well, and even learning to support each other.
Right.
What is that like from your end when you see community leaders, players amongst themselves, team captain, that they have to build their own support network?
Right. You know, it's crazy, but it's just about changing mindset. When these guys are in the prison, most of them have to live together or cohabit in the same area, and there is not an issue. So we are saying, why is it that we can't do that on the outside? And we also have to look at redefining masculinity, because a lot of these feuds are caused by egos, you know, and the inability to reason. And so we bring them to the table as a stakeholder, not having them feel inferior, or while we try to speak condescendingly to them. No, when we are discussing Mr. Hyde, have them involved in the planning of this event. So when there's meetings, they're sitting with police officers, high-ranking police officers, and community members as well around the table. So the inclusion makes them feel as if though they have a say, and that's important.
I think that is the kind of involvement or engagement that they need. Right. To make them feel as if though they can also involve themselves in the decision-making process, because a lot of times they're looked down and frowned upon, right? It's not as if though we're bringing them to the table and giving them an equal say in terms of the things that affect them. In this case, it's planning a competition, a tournament, but they are equal stakeholders as well.
And you know, Isani, one of the things that we've noticed, especially in the change behavior component, is that the guys realize that the younger generation of youths in their neighborhood actually need to learn the discipline as well. And so what we're trying to do is teach them how to be good leaders and look out for the youths within their communities. And so once we try to get that at the forefront, and let them understand their responsibility in their different neighborhoods, and in that regard, the community will support them in kind. It's a different type of outlook you're seeing. It won't happen overnight. It's a slow process, because it's years of having one mentality, a defense mechanism that's built up for survival, and so that doesn't go away overnight. But it's a good step forward, and I'm happy that we're working along with the community police, the behavior modification police, who are police officers who are not necessarily on the front line of fighting crime and violence. They're more looking at the social development aspect of it, which is big.
All right. And of course, you want the community support with it too.
Well, of course, what some of these guys are doing is that they are doing their own advertisement and publicity, because, like, for example, Baka Complex this weekend, the defending champions and the second team, they are the ones who help coordinate and organize the activities there. So we had no less than 300 persons out there showing up Saturday, which was huge. And I'm optimistic about the villages, because I know how villages stand. One activity as early as 10 o'clock in the morning, and sit back until the end of the day. So I'm excited to see how the village are going to turn out, supporting both Hattieville, Ladyville, and Mahogany Heights.
So the games are every Saturday?
Every Saturday from now until October.
Okay.
From 10 a.m. and I think you'll finish around 4 or 5 in the evening. You'll see no less than 6 games, 12 teams competing against each other. And it's really fun. So just as this past weekend went, we've seen families come out, we've seen adults, young kids coming out to support. Same thing we'll ask in all the different communities. Come and check out the thing, come and support the guys. It's a motivation likewise. It's amazing to see some of these different eras coming out in their community, but coming to compete. Commissioner Williams mentioned in his remarks that it's not about shooting guns. It's about taking the ball and shoot it in the hoop. But it's also a time for you to build that type of sportsmanship and that love where we no matter show it other way, so you have to show it now. So I want to echo those words likewise to the players and the community.
All right. And it's open to the public if they want to go out and support.
Yes, free and supportive. They just show up and enjoy some of the nice food where some of these people are cooking, because I understand now that the communities are doing their own food selling, which is something good, and we encourage that. And so you could go and get some food, but you also go and support the team where you choose. You don't have to be also your team from the community, but I know that end up to happen that more people are going to support their community team.
So who's expected to be in the lead?
That's a good question. I told
There's always a favorite in every competition.
I told William, this is so amazing that it seems like it will be a village versus a city now, because the three village team decided to defend the era, and Belize City now, of course, having the most teams from the city, they defend also the city too.
And the defending champs are?
Ornule basketball team from Baka Complex.
Okay. All right, so we'll see who comes out on top.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for coming in and telling us about it. We know you had built up quite a bit of momentum before COVID, and now it's back, and it's getting the tournament going again, and some positive activities in the community.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you,
too. Thank you guys for having us.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.
Just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
Download the SmartStream app on the Android Play Store and create your account to get access to movies and stream at home or on the go. Prepaid customers can purchase regular data packages or get a discounted rate on a special SmartStream package by dialing 7737. Postpaid customers will be billed monthly. Never miss a movie again with SmartStream.
And we're back.
We're back. Our initial conversation with, I'll describe them as the stakeholders.
Yeah.
To discuss International Day of Families and where we are in terms of some of the challenges that we're facing with the Belizean family, right? I think that conversation brought a lot of information forward in terms of what is being done by the community rehab, what is being done by UNICEF, and what is being done by NCFC individually and collectively, to be able to address some of the challenges and the issues that we're facing within families.
Yeah, I do have to say that the work is ongoing. I think strengthening families, it's a collaborative effort, as they clearly pointed out. I do think that the idea of offering training or skills to parents to help them to become better parents, because, you know, I joked about it being a job that you take on with no qualification, but most parents, I can't say all, but most parents genuinely want the best for their children. And they do the best they can with the knowledge they have and the experience they have. So if you have the opportunity to learn some skills that will make it a little bit easier to cope with your toddler when they hit terrible twos, or your teenager when they hit the terrible teens, I'm sure it'd be welcome. So it's about accessibility, so you can have these types of training tools available, so you can have a stronger family unit. And it feels so fitting going from the conversation of families to community basketball, because it's, you know, you start with the individual, the family, and then you go into the community as well. And all of these things need to be strengthened because they are the foundation for our society.
And the initiative, and of course, its resumption, I mean, they have been out for at least 2 years or so because of the pandemic, but to see that, you know, the department is bringing these young men back together to participate and compete in this kind of tournament is meaningful. Because if we were discussing simply the idea of some of these young men not being able to leave from their respective communities, now you have an activity, a sporting activity that allows them to be able to, you know, go from Yabra, for instance, to Complex, or, you know, any other part of the city where they're having a competition. I think that is also a good thing.
Absolutely. So, of course, you can show your support by going out to the games on Saturdays and cheer on your favorite team. I also want to say look out for the name change of the youth hostel.
New Beginnings Development Center.
Names submitted by the residents themselves. It's such a beautiful essay that they put together explaining why, that they just want a new beginning. All right, but that's all the time we have for today. If you would like to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. Find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelize. And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes
to start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.